Hello children. So once again I'm here with a new video for you all, and the topic for this video is waste management. As you all know that this is an important topic in the course what you have for the second term exams for the boards. Okay, so let's start with the topic, and as I begin with this, I want to remind you, do share the link of this video with your friends and also subscribe the channel. Now let's start with the topic, waste management. First of all, what do you think? What is waste? Waste is actually from the large number of people who are there at present on the earth. They are producing a lot of waste, and this generation of waste every day it's going very high. And nowadays this has become a big challenge in front of the various authorities which are looking after this problem, that how to manage with the waste. And this is something which has become a very important topic which we need to discuss these days. Okay, we need to sort out the problem of the waste generation, how it should be disposed of in a proper manner, right? That is an important part of it. Moreover, the pollution which is being caused every time, a lot of pollution is getting increased. So that is also being added more and more due to the waste which is being actually generated every day. Okay, so this is the topic we are going to discuss in this video. Just one example I'm giving you. Suppose, let's take the example of Mumbai, just one city, one metropolitan of India. Within Mumbai, because the population, naturally we know it very well that within any city, these days population is growing very high. Okay, so per day, the waste which is generated from one city is 10,000 million tons. Let's take the example of the entire India. In India, per day, the total waste which was generated in the year 2011-12 was actually 1,27,486 metric tons of the total waste was generated just in one day. Just imagine. So you can just think of it, what is the condition of this, actually how much important problem is this to be discussed and to be sorted out. Actually this topic needs to be discussed very seriously, and how to manage with the waste, that is again an important issue related with this. Okay, and in this video we are going to discuss about the waste management only. Now first of all, the waste accumulation, you'll find from different ways we find the waste gets accumulated, right? Whether it is by the food items, or it is by the daily whatever we use in our at our homes, right? In our industries, in the offices, in mining, in the agricultural fields, in different ways you'll find the wastes are being generated in large amount. Okay, first of all, you should know what is the meaning of the waste. Is actually waste, or the total wastes we can say, are unwanted or unusable materials. Unwanted or unusable, which cannot be used anywhere. So waste is any substance which is discarded after its primary use. Now mainly two types of wastes we categorize. One is the solid waste, the other is liquid waste according to their nature. Okay, if the solid matter is there, that is solid waste. If it is in liquid form, that is liquid waste. Now waste in solid forms are you can say domestic, commercial and industrial wastes. Especially under this you will find the plastics, then containers, bottles, papers, then scrap iron and all. Liquid waste include the domestic washings, chemicals, okay, the oils, the wastewater from ponds, or from the manufacturing industries and all. That includes the liquid waste. Now when we classify the waste according to their properties, what property? According to their you can say whether it can be degraded or not, it can be easily get decomposed or not. So for that purpose, we just keeping that in mind, we can categorize the waste into two types. One is biodegradable, the other is non-biodegradable. Now the first one, biodegradable waste, is that which can be degraded easily, and that includes paper, wood, fruits, the peels of vegetables and fruits, right? The food items. Non-biodegradable waste is that which includes the waste which cannot be so easily get degraded. Now that includes the plastic, bottles or glass, okay, old machines, all these come under this category. Now what are the main sources of waste? Main sources are, number one is the household, domestic source. Then number two is industrial. Industrial sites are one again a big source of it. Then agricultural fields. Then next is commercial sector. Suppose any commercial units are there. From there also a lot of waste is generated every day. Then construction sites, where the buildings and all these are constructed. There also a lot of waste is actually piled outside. Okay, it is dumped outside. Now next is mining. At the mining site also, along the mines you will find a lot of material is dumped on both the sides. So that is again a big source of the waste. Then electronic items, and one more is there, radioactive waste. It includes all the, suppose the waste which is generated from the nuclear power stations, or the where we use it for the nuclear weapons and all, right? So whatever waste which is generated at those sites, these are called as radioactive waste. Now, classification of waste according to their effects on human health and the surrounding environment. We can say the wastes are of basically two types. One is hazardous, the other is non-hazardous. Hazardous wastes are those, the substances unsafe to use commercially, industrially, or in agricultural sector or economically, and have any of the following properties, like it is more easily ignitable, right? Then corrosive in nature, it is more reactive or toxic in nature. So all these are categorized as hazardous waste. But when we say non-hazardous, means substances safe to use commercially, industrially, or in agricultural fields and all. So that is safe to use means it's not going to have any side effect, any such strong effect over the human beings or the health of the people or the animals and all, and do not have any of those properties like what we have discussed in the earlier one, the corrosive nature of the corrosive nature or the toxic nature. It's not there in the case of non-hazardous waste, and these usually create disposal problems. Now next is classification of waste according to their origin and the type. Now classification of wastes according to their origin and type. According to this, we can categorize the waste into four different types. Number one is municipal solid waste. Number two is biomedical waste. Number three is industrial waste. And number four is agricultural waste. Municipal solid waste is that the solid waste that include household garbage, rubbish, construction, demolition, debris, sanitation residue, okay, packaging materials. All these come under municipal solid waste. Number two is biomedical. Biomedical means from the hospitals or from the nursing homes and all. When the waste which is thrown out, that comes under this category. That is the solid or liquid waste, including containers or the end products generated during diagnosis, treatment, and research activities of medical sciences. Okay, that is under the biomedical waste. Next is industrial waste. Liquid and solid waste that are generated by manufacturing and processing units of various industries. So under this you will find the chemical, petroleum, coal, then the paper, metal, gas, all these are the different industrial wastes. In this form the wastes are generated. Then next is agricultural waste. What is agricultural waste now? The waste generated from farming activities or from the agricultural fields. Now that is basically belonging to the type which we discussed in the earlier part, that is biodegradable. Agricultural waste is typically a waste which is belonging to biodegradable waste. Now you can see the domestic waste is actually chiefly it is covering the waste which is coming from the kitchens. Then industrial waste you can find here, you can see a picture. Then basically when we say domestic waste, it mainly consists of the kitchen waste, poly bags, then bottle, glass, all these come under the kitchen waste. okay, or the domestic waste. Now, industrial waste, basically it produces waste gases and other materials, sulfur dioxides, nitrogen oxides. These emit, they are very strong gases which cause a lot of harm to the surrounding environment, and a lot of such gases are released which are going to cause the global warming also. Then besides this, these are also responsible for mainly the acid rain, and they also cause soil to become infertile. Whichever area is covered with the industrial waste, that area almost becomes infertile, and it also causes pollution of the various water bodies. So this is about the industrial waste. Then agricultural waste. When we talk about the agricultural waste, the left out part of the crops which are there in the field, these are all belonging to the agricultural waste, right? Now you can see here the crop residue, husks, straw, manures, etc. And construction waste, when we say, these include bricks, the broken pieces of bricks, pipes, plastics, irons, right? All these come under the construction waste. Then mining waste. What are mining waste now? These are toxic and hazardous. These include debris or the slag which is actually dumped near the mining area. So that comes under the mining waste. Now, what is electronic waste? These are actually the waste which are now seen, right? These have come in the environment because these are, the electronic goods are used a lot these days. So naturally the waste generated will also be more. So it basically, why we are more concerned, because these cause a lot of environmental degradation, because it consists of substances which are directly harming the environment and the health of all the living beings, like mercury, cadmium, lead. These are the main elements, right, or the heavy metals which are used in the electronic items, right? So the waste which is generated from the electronic side, that is actually very hazardous. Now you can see agricultural waste include several waste lying in the agricultural fields. Now they become breeding ground for harmful insects also, right? They cause foul smell around that area. Then burning of the crop residue causes smoke, and ultimately they may cause harm to the entire environment as a whole. Okay, the mining waste you can see in this picture. The whenever the mining is done, a lot of waste is actually taken out from there, and it is dumped on both the sides. So that again creates problem. Then come to the electronic waste, and then is the reason why, just now we were discussing about why are e-wastes difficult to recycle. E-waste or the electronic wastes are difficult to recycle. Basically, the big reason for that is the complexity of each item. The electronic items are very complex, and so their disposing of the waste in the form of that electronic item, that becomes quite difficult. Okay, so the recycling of it becomes very difficult. So it's very you can say the disposing of the electronic waste is the most difficult in all these wastes what we have discussed just now. Next is lack of viable recycling systems. We are not having those technology which actually we can use at different stages, right, where we can reuse the electronic wastes. Then or the recycling of the electronic waste can be done. Then plastics that are used contain flame retardants. So these are the main problems with recycling of the e-wastes. Now, why do we need to manage the waste? That is again a big question in the present condition. This is a very important question which you should know, right? Now, what is the reason? Why do we need to manage the waste? To reduce the landscape degeneration. Because when the waste will be dumped outside on any piece of land, naturally it will cause harm to the surrounding area and the land also. So to reduce the landscape degeneration, that is one reason. Number two is that to control and reduce air, water and soil pollution. Number three is that to reduce the health problems occurring from different pollutions. Again, in that case also, if we manage the waste properly, it will reduce to a great extent. Then, to reduce the loss of terrestrial and aquatic life, both ways, the animals or the living beings which are actually surviving on land as well as in water. For all the living beings, the harm is caused by the waste which is actually generated every day. So we need to manage the waste in a proper manner so that the living beings are not going to get harmed by that. Now, for that purpose, we need to know about different steps, okay, how we can manage with the waste. The first basic thing what we should know is the waste segregation. Now, what is the meaning of waste segregation? Segregation means separation of the waste in different categories so that we can treat the different type of wastes according to their need. You can see here, suppose all together we find the waste is at one place, the waste which is dumped, that is shown in this manner, right? The first stage. Then when after segregation we find all the plastic waste has been collected at one place, right? Tetra packs at one place, thermocol at the other place, glasses, right? Glass bottles or glasses, these are at one place. Then leather separate from the others, then wrappers, then PET bottles, then tins, paper again it is separated from it, then metallic items are separated. Okay, then wooden items are separated. So in this manner, once we segregate all the waste, now the main problem comes in front of us is how to manage with the different type of waste. So that becomes easier now. If it is all together dumped at one place, which method should be used to manage, actually to dispose of all the waste? That will be quite difficult. Okay, because all the waste are not treated in the same manner. Maybe some wastes are can be recycled. Some waste are such which can again be used. Okay, reuse of that can be done. So in this manner, the different type of wastes are there. So once we segregate that helps in reducing the total waste. Now, first of all, the decentralization of waste is done at the source of it. Now, how it is done? First thing is to segregate the waste, right? Number one. Next is after segregation, reduce, reuse and recycle. This is applied over the different types of waste which have been separated. And then one category of waste is also there which is biodegradable waste. That waste is again used for generation of, you can say for the production of the manure, okay, in the form of compost. So the different type of wastes we are getting and these are handled in different manner. Now segregation of waste, basically in this keeping wet and dry waste separately so that dry can be recycled and wet waste can be decomposed. That is one thing. Then biodegradable waste especially include what? Coconut shells, vegetable waste, fruit waste, okay, the eatables and all, and then dust, then bones and all these things are actually belonging to the biodegradable waste. And what is recyclable waste or the dry waste? These are paper, plastics, metal, glass, rubber, thermocol. These are belonging to the recyclable waste. Recyclable, or you can say it, many of the things can be reused again. Okay, so they all come under the category of dry waste. Then after segregation, all these are treated in different manner. Now, what is the basic difference between biodegradable and non-biodegradable waste? This is again an important thing to be discussed, right? This is an important topic for you to know. Biodegradable waste is that waste which are decomposed by bacterial activity. But on the other side, non-biodegradable wastes are that are not decomposed by bacterial activity. Number two, in biodegradable you will find these do not cause any pollution, but instead they form organic manure which can again be used for adding up the fertility in the soil, okay, for growing any crops or any plants and all. But in the case of non-biodegradable waste, we find that these cause a lot of pollution. They are not at all good for soil. right? No manure is generated out of it. So these are the basic differences between the two types. Now the non-biodegradable waste, you can see the recyclable wastes like bottles and plastics and all. Okay. Now these are a few things which are a big reason behind causing, right, fertilizer, then pesticides and all, then paints, all these. Now let's once again talk about the segregation. What are the benefits, main benefits of segregation? Most important benefits of segregation are, number one is that it reduces the total volume of waste. I know that you will agree with this point, because when we segregate the waste, when we separate the waste, out of all that waste, some things are taken out which can again be reused, right? So that amount of waste has been reduced. Again, a few things are there which can be recycled. So that has now been taken out from the entire waste which is there with us. Again, one more thing, some waste is belonging to the biodegradable type. So that has been taken out to form the compost and get manure out of it. So again, a reduction is there in the waste. So ultimately you can say a big benefit of segregation at the initial level is that it helps in reducing the total volume of waste. Number one. Number two is that it reduces the air and water pollution, because in this way we are getting actually the different types of waste which can easily be handled according to their need. Suppose any biomedical waste that may cause different diseases to develop, so that is immediately treated in the same manner, right? Suppose any the biodegradable waste is there, so that can easily be used in the forming the compost out of it. So in this manner, what is being done? The total pollution which was being caused otherwise, that has been reduced. Then it becomes easy to dispose of, right, the waste altogether. The two most important steps in disposing of the waste is the two steps are actually the recycling of certain category of waste and the reusing of the waste. Now all the waste can easily be then treated separately. Once it has been segregated, it can easily be treated separately. Then open dumping of waste material. This is one method which is in practice in various urban areas or the settlement areas, right? All the waste which is collected at one place and it is taken to any area which is mostly an open area which is away from the settlement region. Okay, suppose in the outskirts of the city or out of the villages and all, when all the waste is dumped, right, it is actually collected from the different parts of the city or different parts of any village. Now all that is dumped at one place. Generally it is any area taken from the outskirts of the city or the settlement areas. What is the reason? So that it's not going to harm directly the people who are living there. Okay, it is away from that. It is not going to cause harm to the people, but just think of the animals, right? Animals, birds and the surrounding environment. It is getting harmed by that, right? That's why it is taken as not a good method of disposing of the waste. Okay, the open dumping is the easiest method. It is the cheapest method, right? Because what we do is एक जगह से उठा के दूसरी जगह हमने dump कर दिया. That's all. No headache is there. What is the harm which is being caused by that, all the waste which is dumped outside, right? Just what we have done, we have just thrown it away from us. It's not a solution of it. When we discuss about the open dumping, always we need to know about what is this method and how much is this practically useful. It's not at all useful if we take it in that way. So what is this method? You can see here, an open dumping is defined as a land disposal site, right? An area is taken and there all the waste is disposed of in such a manner that it does not protect the environment. It is just open for causing pollution and are susceptible to open burning, surface and groundwater contamination, because whenever rainfall occurs, it carries all the waste along with it. And wherever this water joins any water body any small pond or any lake or river, any water body, it is going to harm that water body, right? Sometimes what happens, all that water seeps down. So when all this toxic element has been mixed with water, that seeps down and ultimately it joins sometimes the groundwater. What will happen then? It will pollute the groundwater also. So it causes contamination of surface as well as groundwater source. Then detrimental to the natural beauty of the land. Okay, the landscape is, it's actually the natural beauty is spoiled. Moreover, a lot of foul smell is caused, several diseases are caused, it deteriorates the soil quality, right? It is open for all the scavengers and all. So these are the disadvantages of open dumping. Next step we should discuss here is actually, just now we have discussed in the earlier part, it's the same thing, advantages and disadvantages of open dumping, because this is again an important topic for you to know, right? Now advantages, there are no such advantages. You can say it's the cheapest method, right? Cheapest method, or the solution what we have found, that instead of just collecting all the waste in front of our door, we are just throwing it away on one side. That's it. So this is the cheapest method. We are not using any technology, we are not using any other methods to actually dispose of the waste in a better way. So it's just from one place, we have just removed that waste and we have dumped on the other place. Okay, so it is cheapest method. Do not need much planning also. This is a method in which we don't need any planning. We have just taken one area which is open area, which is actually of no use at all. So there dumping is done. That's all. So that is an advantage of it. Now what are the main disadvantages? Already we have discussed in the earlier part. Once again, let's go through it. Number one, it spoils the sight of the area. Okay, natural beauty of the area is spoiled. Then it becomes a breeding ground for various insects and the rodents and all, thus causing several diseases to develop. It gives out foul smell. Okay, foul odor is released by that. Then burning of waste causes air pollution. Then wherever the waste is dumped, it releases a lot of methane and several such gases which ultimately cause harm to the atmosphere, because methane is one of the very important greenhouse gas, right? So ultimately it is actually causing harm to the atmosphere by causing atmospheric pollution, right? Air pollution. Moreover, this is a big reason behind the global warming also, right? Then when the rainwater could carry harmful substances to the nearby water bodies. So this is again, just now we discussed that it can cause pollution of the groundwater as well as the surface water in both ways. Now the next method which is generally used these days is actually called landfills, right? Landfills or sanitary landfills in several areas. Now why this is important these days? To prevent especially the contamination of waste into the surrounding environment, especially groundwater due to open dumping, which is being caused by the open dumping. That is actually, to some extent, it is reduced in the case of landfills. Then some materials cannot be recycled and used for energy or composted. So for that purpose, the landfills become important, and increasing population resulting in increase in the waste. So for that purpose, we need to have certain landfills by which we can dispose of the total waste. Now what are basically the landfills? In sanitary landfills, you can see a picture is there in front of you, and in this a large area has been occupied for this purpose, and in this sanitary landfill, waste is disposed of with the minimal environmental damage. Now this is the basic concept behind it, right? The waste is dumped and it is covered always, right? And it is always the lining is always made with the cement, right? Base is always made in such a way that it is not going to seep down inside and thus harming the groundwater. So in that way it is safe. Moreover, it is covered, all the waste is dumped. Okay, after that a thin layer of soil is covered over that. So that actually releases, to some extent you can say, it is not going to cause the pollution which was seen in the case of open dumping. So the several such insects and rodents and all which were seen in the case of open dumping, these are not seen in this case in the sanitary landfills, right? Now, especially what are the advantages of using the sanitary landfills? These are free from air pollution, okay, in both ways, from burning as well as otherwise also. If you see, the air pollution is not caused in this case, right? Little bit you can say, otherwise not at all it is caused. Then next is no foul smell is caused because it is covered with a layer of soil. Then next is health problems which are again minimized in this case because the rodents and all such insects are not seen much in this case. So this helps in minimizing the problems of several diseases which are seen more in the case of landfill. And it is free from mostly the fire hazards because it is fully covered. So the fire incidents are less seen in this case. Now come to the next. What is the basic difference between the two? Difference between the open dumping and the landfills. You can see here very clearly, a dump is a dump, or you can say the open dumping is an open hole in the ground where trash is buried and where animals often swarm, and they offer no environmental protection and are not regulated at all. But in the case of landfill, you'll find it is a carefully designed and monitored structure that isolates the trash from the surrounding environment, and this isolation is accomplished with the use of a proper concrete bottom liner and daily covering of the waste with the help of soil, right? So in this way it is, to some extent, it is protected from, so it does not cause so much of diseases and all. Next is municipal waste management. Now what is municipal waste management? It includes different steps, right? Number one is collection of all waste from one place, then carrying all that waste to the other place where it has to be disposed of, right? So that is the first step, is collection of it. Then it is transportation, which is carried by several trucks and all, okay, and the disposing of or the treatment of the waste at the other place. So these are the different steps under the municipal waste management. You can see here from the different houses and from the different areas in the urban as well as rural areas, the waste is collected and then it is carried from that area to the place where it has to be disposed of, right? So for that purpose, the vehicles, it should be always kept in mind that the vehicles are covered properly, right? So when it is covered, the waste will not actually scatter here and there. Then one very important term we need to discuss here is composting. Now what is composting? Basically the non-biodegradable waste which we discussed in the beginning, if you remember. Non-biodegradable waste is basically used to form a manure out of it, okay, or you can say the organic fertilizer, and which helps in further increasing the fertility of the soil in natural way. We are not using any chemical for that purpose, okay. Now what is it? Compost, using the natural process of decay to change organic wastes into a valuable humus like material, and which is called compost. And the process of making of compost is called composting. Now composting can be of two types. One is Indore method, the other is Bangalore method. Indore method, it was actually developed in the beginning by A. Howard and Y.D. Yard. Okay, these were the scientists who actually, first of all, they discovered this method and they introduced this method, and it started then as a common practice amongst the people. And this is actually a you can say aerobic method of making compost. In this method, basically animal dung, all other plant residues and wastes are taken together, and these are actually dumped in a pit. And in the Bangalore method, you'll find this method, first of all, it was introduced by Ellen Acharya. Next is, this method overcomes many of the disadvantages which were seen in the case of Indore method. And that's why, it is also called as, it is because in this you will find machines are used on large scale. So that's why it is more, one more important thing is that this is also used as This is called by the name mechanical method. But when we talk about Indore method, that is totally manual. So that is also many times it is referred as manual method of composting. And Bangalore method, many times it is also called as mechanical method. That means we are talking of Bangalore method. And in this method you will find this is anaerobic method is used in this, right? Bangalore method. Next is this method eliminates the necessity of turning up of the materials as composting is done in trenches. So again turning up is not actually done in this case. Now what are the main advantages of composting? First of all, the most important thing is that it enhances the soil nutrients. Okay, the nutrients are given back to the soil. Number 2, it rejuvenates the poor soil by adding humus content in it. Number 3, it helps in checking the soil erosion. Then it suppresses the plant diseases also. To a great extent, it has been found that it reduces the chances of plant diseases to develop in the various plants, right? When we use the compost in that. And the most important of all is that it is cost effective. We are just using the waste to form the manure out of it, right? So no, you can say nothing is spent over it. So it is totally cost effective method of adding organic fertilizer actually to the field. Now the next thing we need to discuss here is in this chapter, that is very important topic, that is reduce, reuse and recycle. In short, these are also called as 3R's. These are 3R's, and these are environmental friendly practices with the managing of the waste. Now what is recycle? It is to convert materials or the waste into reusable materials. Like suppose any glass, broken glass is there, right? This can be recycled, and after that again a new glass can be used, right, for drinking water, or any bottle can be made out of it. So that is called recycling. The paper can be used in recycling, and after that it can be supposed used for making the different type of papers out of it, right? Suppose the newspaper what we read, that is made out of recycled paper only, right, in large area. Now landfills are full of items that could be recycled. Then recycling puts objects through a process that allows them to be used again. Instead of collecting all that as a waste, that can again be converted into a new shape, new form, and that is used as a something new which we need in our daily life. So that is called recycling of the waste. And for this method, we actually keep several bins for this purpose. Generally, the brown bins are meant for the glasses, right? The waste which is belonging to that category. Then blue bins are meant for the paper, right? All that paper has actually to be disposed of in blue bins. And the orange colored bin is meant for aluminium and plastic bottles and all, or the utensils and all. So in this way, we recycle all these things. Then what are the benefits of recycling of the waste? Recycling, first of all, it reduces the need for land filling and incineration and all. Instead of collecting all that waste in open area, we are reducing that waste, and we are actually producing something new out of it, right? So that is one thing. Second thing is that recycling prevents pollution, naturally, because we are reducing the total waste. Then it saves energy also. Then recycling decreases emission of several greenhouse gases that contribute to global warming or the climatic change. Then it conserves natural resources also. Suppose we need to for the manufacturing of several aluminium utensils, we need to extract, we need to take out the bauxite from by mining, right? And after that aluminium is taken out, and then aluminium is used for making the different utensils. But here what we are doing, we are using the earlier, suppose any utensils or anything which is made of aluminium, that is being recycled, okay, and that is again being used for producing any new item out of it. So we are actually conserving the total natural resource which is there with us. then recycling helps sustain the environment for future generations. Okay, so that's why recycling is encouraged more and more. Now, methods of reducing the waste, because 3 R's are there. No? One is recycling, reducing, and you can say reuse. Now, what are the methods of reducing the waste? Basically, when the changes can be made in the production process to reduce waste generation, either by changing the materials used or by using materials more efficiently. So we can have several technology, suppose, which is releasing less, you can say technology which is releasing less waste out of it. So that is again one method to reduce the waste. Then by precipitation and evaporation method, the amount of liquid waste can be reduced. Then next is hazardous and non-hazardous waste must be separated while collecting so that hazardous waste can be treated specially. So in this manner we are reducing the total waste. Non-hazardous waste, especially which are biodegradable, can easily be used up in making the compost out of it. So ultimately what we are doing, we are reducing the total waste which is actually getting generated every day in large quantity. So this is one method of sorting out the problem of waste management, right? Now next is what are the basic advantages of this waste reduction? First thing is that the reduced volume of waste for disposal, right? Suppose whatever waste was being generated every day, now the amount of waste is less. So naturally the reduced volume is there of the waste is there for disposal. Clear? Number one. Number two is that reduces the cost of collection and disposal. Naturally, large amount of waste in its collection, in its transportation, in its disposing of, everything needs more expense. Now, if the total amount of waste which is being generated, that is very less, naturally it is going to reduce the cost of all that. Then longer life of disposal sites. Then it reduces the environmental and health impacts also. Negative impacts are reduced to a great extent. Then it reduces the costs through more efficient use of resources. So these are the advantages of waste reduction. Now, what is the third term which we have seen in the 3 R's, if you remember? One was recycling, number two was reducing, okay, and number three was reusing. Okay, this is the third one. Now what is waste reuse? This refers to the reuse of discarded items without any additional processing. We are not processing it in its actual, the original way, form only, we are using it. In manufacturing industry, for example, this may refer to packaging materials such as the wooden pallets or cardboard boxes used to transport products from factory to warehouse to retail outlets. Then in office or household terms, it may involve the use of glass cups rather than paper plastic cups, okay, and refillable bottles can be used there instead of using the plastic bottles. So these are basically the waste which we have taken as the waste, but it can again be reused for some or the other purpose. So this is called waste reused. Now, what is the role of rag pickers? Rag pickers actually play a very important role, and especially when we talk about segregation, right? In the initial part of this topic, we have discussed about the segregation of waste. Segregation means separation in different categories. For that, the rag pickers play a very important role, because these are the children, these are the people who are actually separating all the waste, and they keep all the waste in different categories, okay, and that is the main you can say step, after which we can easily sort it out that which waste has to be recycled, which waste has to be reused again, which waste can be used for making the compost out of it, which waste is actually going to get in the incinerators like biomedical waste and all, which waste can again be suppose used for which waste can again be used for different purposes, which can be reused, right? So for this purpose, the step which we have discussed in the earlier part, that is segregation, that is very, very important. That is only the step which helps in further sorting out all these wastes in different ways. Okay, because all the waste are not treated in the same manner, and for that purpose we are getting a big help by the rag pickers, because they are the people who segregate all the waste. So you can see here rag pickers play an important role in collecting materials for reusing and supplying them for its reuse. Then next is segregation of waste makes it easy to dispose of the different type of wastes according to their need. One of the very good use of the waste can be seen in the form of rock garden at Chandigarh. And there, if you have seen, there basically the tin cans and the glass, broken glasses and all, the bottles, broken crockery, these have been used for actually developing this garden. So in this manner we can use the waste in some positive way. Next is the fly ash. Nowadays this is again one very good use of the waste which is actually causing harm to the entire environment. Fly ash. Now this fly ash is being used to form the bricks out of it. Okay, so this is again a very good use of the waste which is causing harm, which is causing pollution. That waste is being used to produce something good for us. Okay, for construction purpose we need bricks, and that is being formed by using the fly ash. Next is these days a few roads are being built with the help of the waste plastic, and this is a very good use of it. Now plastic, you all know very well that plastic is something which cannot be degraded so easily. It takes thousands of years, right? So for that purpose, what is the other way how we can reduce the total plastic waste? For that purpose, one very good idea has been given by a few people, and this is actually for construction of roads by using the plastic. And this waste plastic is used for building of the roads. And this is, what is the advantage when we use the plastic, waste plastic actually for the road construction? It is, number one, the most important thing is that it is very easy process of construction of road. Number two is that it reduces the use of bitumen. The bitumen which is generally used for actually construction of roads, that is reduced in this manner because we are using the other option instead of that. Number three is it increases the aggregate impact value of it. Then it increases the strength of the roads. Roads are compact. They remain there for many years without any breaking down of rocks. They remain there as they were built, right, for many years. So that actually by using the plastic for the construction of roads, it increases the strength of the road also. And then one more thing is there, since a large amount of plastic waste is required for construction of a small stretch of road, right? So this is a very good way to dispose of all the plastic waste, which was actually creating a big problem in front of the various authorities which are dealing with all this, right? How to dispose of the plastic materials. So this is one of the easiest and the best way out to dispose of the plastic waste. So this is all with this video, and as I leave, I want to remind you once again, don't forget to subscribe the channel. Okay, as you subscribe the channel, press the bell icon also so that you will get the notifications regarding the uploading of any video on the channel. In the next video we are going to meet again, and till then, bye.